The morning sun rose over the crystal spires of New Haven, the main city on Kepler 442b. Captain Dae-ho Kim stood on the observation deck of the human embassy, watching the Aldari people go about their daily lives. The bird-like aliens moved gracefully through their bio-grown buildings, their feathered wings catching the light as they glided between platforms. Dae-ho had been stationed here for 2 years as the human liaison officer. He loved this peaceful world. The Aldari were gentle creatures who had mastered biotechnology in ways that amazed even human scientists. They could grow buildings from living trees, heal wounds that would kill other species, and create medicines that worked like magic. "Captain Kim," called a voice behind him. He turned to see Dr. Hai-Jin Choi walking toward him, her face worried. She was the lead xenobiologist studying Aldari healing methods, and Dae-ho had never seen her look so troubled. "What's wrong, Doctor?" he asked. "The Aldari Council wants to see all human personnel immediately. Something big is happening." They made their way through the living corridors of the embassy. The walls pulsed gently with a soft blue light, grown from modified coral that the Aldari had engineered. Everything here was alive, breathing, and beautiful. It was so different from the metal and concrete of human cities. Ambassador Jin-woo Lee was already in the main chamber when they arrived. He was talking quietly with Commander Sora Park, who had just arrived from the human research ship New Seoul in orbit. Both looked grim. Dae-ho, Hai-Jin, good. We need everyone here." "For this," Jin-woo said. He was an older man with kind eyes, but today those eyes were filled with concern. The chamber doors opened with a soft whisper, and 3 Aldari entered. Their leader was High Counselor Veltar, an elderly Aldari whose golden feathers had faded to silver with age. His large, amber eyes showed fear that made Dae-ho's stomach tighten. "Honored friends," Veltar began, his voice like wind chimes in the breeze. "We have received terrible news. The Vorthic hegemony has declared war upon us." The humans exchanged glances. They had heard of the Vorthic, a race of insect-like creatures who conquered worlds and enslaved other species. But the Vorthic were far from Aldari space, at least 100 light-years away. "They claim we have technology they need," Veltar continued. "Our biohealing methods, our genetic engineering, our ability to grow living ships. They demand we surrender these secrets and become part of their empire." "What did you tell them?" Commander Sora asked. "We refused, of course. We cannot give such power to those who would use it to harm others. Our healing arts are meant to save lives, not help conquerors." Another Aldari stepped forward. This was War Singer Kesara, one of the few Aldari who understood military matters. Even so, she was more of a historian than a warrior. "The Vorthic fleet is already moving," she said, her voice shaking. "Our long-range sensors show over 400 ships heading toward our space. They will be here in less than a week." Dae-ho felt his blood run cold. 400 ships was a massive force. The Aldari had maybe a dozen defensive satellites and a few patrol boats. They were peaceful people who had never fought a real war. "We have no military," Veltar said sadly. "We know how to heal, how to grow, how to create life. But we do not know how to fight or kill. We have lived in peace for 1,000 years. Ambassador Jin-woo stepped forward. "What do you need from us?" We hoped." Veltar's voice was barely a whisper. "Perhaps you could send a medical ship? Some advisors? We know humans have fought wars before. Maybe you could help us evacuate our people?" The old Aldari looked so hopeful, so desperate. Dae-ho felt his heart break for them. These gentle beings were about to face an enemy that would show no mercy. "We understand if you cannot help much," Kesara added quickly. "We know humans are still a young species in space. You probably don't have many ships to spare. but any help would mean everything to us. Dae-ho looked at his fellow humans. The Aldari clearly thought of humanity as a small, new player in galactic politics. They expected maybe one ship, a few doctors, some supplies. They had no idea what they were really asking for. Jing-Wu's face was calm, but Dae-ho could see the steel in his eyes. High Counselor, I give you my word that humanity will respond to this crisis. We will not abandon our friends. You will send help? Veltar asked, hope flickering in his amber eyes. We will send what is needed, Jin-Wu replied carefully. After the Aldari left, the humans gathered in the secure communication room. Jin-Wu activated the quantum relay that connected them directly to Earth. This is Ambassador Lee on Kepler 442b, he said into the transmitter. Priority 1 message for Earth Defense Command. The Aldari Federation is under imminent attack by the Vorthic hegemony. 400 enemy ships approaching. Aldari have no military capability, requesting immediate assistance. He paused, then added, the Aldari possess the most advanced biotechnology in known space. Their healing methods could revolutionize human medicine. Their bioengineering could solve food shortages across the galaxy. We cannot let this knowledge fall into Vorthic hands. Commander Sora leaned forward. Also recommend this as a strategic opportunity. The Vorthic have been expanding aggressively. If they take Aldari space, they'll control a major trade route. This could be their first step toward threatening human colonies. Dr. Hai-Jin added her voice. The Aldari are genuinely peaceful. They've never harmed anyone. If we help them, we'll have loyal allies for generations. Jin-Wu nodded and continued his message. The Aldari expect minimal aid, maybe one ship, some medical supplies. They don't understand human military capabilities. Recommend appropriate response. Lee out. He shut off the transmitter and turned to the others. Now we wait. How long? Commander Sora asked. The message will reach Earth in 6 hours through the quantum relay network. The Defense Council will need time to decide. Ho looked out the window at the peaceful city below. Aldari children were playing in the crystal gardens, their parents, watching with loving eyes. In a few days, all of this could be destroyed. Sir, he said to Jin-Wu, what do you think Earth will send? The ambassador smiled grimly. I've known the Earth Defense Council for 20 years, Captain. When they say, they'll send what's needed, they mean exactly that. But the Aldari think we're a minor species, Dr. Hai-Jin said. They're expecting maybe a frigate. Then they're in for quite a surprise, Jin-Wu replied. Outside, the first of the Aldari defensive satellites began moving into position. The small living craft looked beautiful, but fragile against the stars. Soon, the Vorthic fleet would arrive, expecting easy conquest. What they would find instead would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Dae-ho just hoped the Aldari were ready for the kind of help humanity was about to provide. The message from Kepler 442b arrived at Earth Defense Headquarters at 3 in the morning, Geneva time. The quantum relay system chimed with the priority alert that woke Admiral Min-Ho Kong from his sleep. He read the message twice, then immediately called an emergency meeting. Within an hour, the most important people in human space defense were sitting around a holographic table in the secure briefing room. Admiral Kong looked at each face. General Yeon-Soo Young from the Marines, Director. Hyan-Woo CO from Intelligence, and a dozen other commanders and advisors. Ladies and gentlemen, Admiral Kong began. We have a situation. The Aldari Federation is under attack by the Vorthic hegemony. 400 enemy ships are heading toward their space. General Jung leaned forward. She was a tough woman who had fought in the Titan Wars and the Europa campaign. The Aldari are the bird people with the biotechnology, right? Peaceful species? Correct. They have no military to speak of. A few patrol boats and some defensive. Satellites. Against 400 Vorthic ships, they'll be slaughtered. Director CO activated his datapad. I've been tracking Vorthic movements for months. This isn't just about conquering the Aldari. It's the opening move in a bigger plan. The holographic display showed a map of local space. Red dots marked Vorthic territory, blue showed human colonies, and green indicated Aldari space. Look at the position, SEO continued. If the Vorthic take Aldari space, they control the main trade route between the core worlds and the outer rim. They'll have a base to launch attacks on human colonies in the Perseus. ARM. Admiral Kong nodded grimly. We've been expecting something. Like this, the Vorthic have been getting bolder, testing our borders with scout ships. How many ships do we have available? Ask General Jung. Fleet Commander Jung Ji Nam, captain of the dreadnought Inchin's Fury, spoke up. The Third Fleet is finishing exercises near Proxima Station. 43 heavy ships, including 6 dreadnoughts. The Seventh Fleet is at full. Strength at Luna Base. That's another 60 ships. The 12th Fleet just returned from patrol duty. 58 ships ready for action. Over 160 ships, Admiral Kong mused, against 400 Vorthic vessels. Sir, interrupted Commander Tae Min Park from Fleet Intelligence, our ships are more advanced than Vorthic technology. Their weapons are brutal, but crude. Their ships are tough but slow. We've been preparing for this fight for years. Director SEO pulled up more data. The Vorthic think humans are a minor space power. Their intelligence is terrible. They probably think we have maybe 20 or 30 ships total. They're in for a shock, General Jung said with a cold smile. Admiral Kong stood and walked to the display. The question isn't whether we can win. It's how much force we should use. All of it, said Captain Nam without hesitation. We send everything we can. That seems excessive for one alien attack, said one of the civilian advisors. Director CO shook his head. This isn't just one attack. If we let the Vorthic take Aldari space, we'll be fighting them on 3 fronts within a year. Better to stop them now, with overwhelming force. There's another consideration, Admiral Kong said. The Aldari have technology we need. Their biohealing methods could save thousands of human lives. Their genetic engineering could solve food problems on the colony worlds. And if that technology falls into Vorthic hands, asked General Jung, they'll use it to create better weapons, stronger soldiers, deadlier biological attacks, CO replied. We cannot let that happen. Admiral Kong made his decision. We mobilize everything. 3rd, 7th, and 12th Fleets. Full deployment. Sir, that's over 400 ships, Commander Park said, checking his numbers. 412, to be exact, Admiral Kong confirmed. Plus support vessels. That brings us to over 500 ships total. The room fell silent. Even for the human military, that was an enormous force. The Aldari asked for a medical ship, one advisor said quietly. They're going to get a lot more than that, Admiral Kang replied. General Jung activated her communicator. I'll mobilize the Marine Expeditionary Forces. If we're doing this, we do it right. 3 full MEFs, that's 200,000 Marines. Ready for anything from orbital assault to peacekeeping. How long to get the fleets moving? Admiral Kang asked. Fleet Commander Nam consulted her datapad. 3rd Fleet can be underway in 6 hours. 7th Fleet needs 12 hours to complete loading. 12th Fleet requires 18 hours for full. Deployment prep. Make it happen. I want all fleets jumping to hyperspace within 24 hours. Director CO raised a concern. Admiral, should we warn the Aldari what's coming? They're expecting maybe 1 frigate. Admiral Kong thought for a moment. No, we maintain communication silence until we arrive. The Vorthik might be monitoring. Aldari transmissions. Better to surprise everyone. The Aldari are going to be shocked, General Jung said. So are the Vorthik? Admiral Kong replied grimly. As the meeting broke up, each commander headed off to prepare their forces. Within an hour, every human naval base was alive with activity. Ships that had been in dock for maintenance were rushed back to service. Marines loaded into assault transports. Supply ships filled their holds with everything an army might need. On Luna Base, Captain B.O. Young-han prepared her fighter squadrons. She commanded the elite 7th Fighter Wing, 200 of the best pilots in human space. Her fighters were loaded onto the massive carrier New Bizen. "Where are we going, Captain?" asked Lieutenant Wu Jin Lim, her youngest pilot. "To help some friends," she replied, "and to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten people under human protection." At Mars Orbital Shipyard, the newest dreadnought Soul's Vengeance finished loading its magazines. The ship was massive, over 2 kilometers long, and armed with weapons that could crack moons. Admiral Kang would fly his flag from her bridge. Major Ji Hoon, Ru's Special Forces team loaded their gear aboard the assault ship Thunder of Incheon. They were the best of the best, trained for the most dangerous missions behind enemy lines. "What's the target?" asked Sergeant Dong Hyun Pim, checking his plasma rifle. "Vorthik fleet threatening our allies," Ru replied. "We're going to capture their command ships and gather intelligence." "How many enemy ships?" 400. "How many of ours?" "Over 500. Sergeant Kim grinned. "I like those odds." Throughout human space, the greatest military force in Earth's history was gathering. The Aldari had asked for help, expecting perhaps a single ship with medical supplies. Instead, they were about to receive the protection of humanity's entire military might. On the bridge of Soul's Vengeance, Admiral Kang watched the last preparations. In 24 hours, the largest human fleet ever assembled would jump to hyperspace. The Vorthik thought they were attacking a defenseless species, protected by a minor space power. They were about to learn why humans had become the dominant force in their region of space in just 2 centuries. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Yu Jin Park, "all fleets report ready for hyperspace jump." "Excellent. Set course for Kepler 442b. Maximum speed." "Sir, should we send a message to the Aldari? Let them know we're coming?" Admiral Kang smiled coldly. "No, let it be a surprise. I have a feeling both our allies and our enemies are going to be very shocked by what humanity considers an appropriate response to a threat." The die was cast. The largest military operation in human history was about to begin. The Vorthik fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system, like a swarm of angry insects. 400 ships of various sizes spread across space, their dark hulls reflecting no light. At the center of the formation, the massive dreadnought Hive Queen commanded the invasion force. On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Krexif studied the sensor readings with his compound eyes. The Aldari system looked exactly as his intelligence reports had described. A few small defensive satellites, some patrol boats, and 1 inhabited planet covered in crystal cities. "Pathetic," he clicked in the Vorthik language. His mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his species. "This will be over in hours." "Admiral," called his tactical officer, "we detect human vessels in the system. 3 ships, 2 frigates, and what appears to be a research vessel." Krexif's antennae twitched with amusement. "Humans? The newcomers barely have any ships at all. Are they trying to evacuate their people?" "Unknown, sir. They've moved into high orbit around the planet. Ignore them for now. Focus on the military. Targets first." The Vorthik fleet moved deeper into the system, their formation tight and aggressive. They had done this many times before: surround a planet, destroy its defenses, and land troops to secure valuable resources and technology. On the surface of Kepler 442b, Captain Dae-ho Kim watched the approaching enemy fleet through the embassies. Sensors. The human research ship New Seoul had moved into a protective position over the planet, along with 2 escort frigates. It wasn't much against 400 enemy ships. "Any word from Earth?" he asked Ambassador Jin-Woo Lee. "Nothing yet. Communications are still silent." Dr. Hai-Jin Choi was helping coordinate evacuations of Aldari civilians into underground bioshelters. The crystal cities could be rebuilt, but lives could not be replaced. "The first wave will hit the defensive satellites in 2 hours, Commander," Sora Park reported from the New Seoul. "After that, they'll start bombardment of the surface." High Counselor Veltar arrived at the human embassy with several other Aldari leaders. His golden feathers were dulled with fear and exhaustion. "Any word from your government?" he asked hopefully. Chin-woo placed a reassuring hand on the Althari's wing. "Humanity keeps its promises, High Counselor. Help is coming." "When?" "The enemy fleet is enormous. We've never seen so many ships in one place." "Soon," Jing-woo said quietly. He hoped he was right. Far at the edge of the system, hidden behind a small moon, the human stealth ship Ghost of Bizon watched everything unfold. Captain Tae-jun-oh and his crew had been monitoring Vorthik movements for days, gathering intelligence, and waiting for orders. "Captain," whispered his sensor officer, "the Vorthik are beginning their attack run on the defensive satellites." Tae-jun watched the tactical display as the first wave of enemy fighters swarmed toward the Aldari positions. The beautiful living satellites tried to defend themselves, but their bioweapons were designed for mining and construction, not warfare. "This is hard to watch," muttered Lieutenant Min-ju Han, his weapons officer. "Those poor creatures don't stand a chance." "Orders are to observe and report," Tae-jun reminded her. "We don't engage until the main fleet arrives." "If it arrives," Han said quietly, as if summoned by her words. Their long-range sensors suddenly screamed with contact alerts. Massive hyperspace signatures were appearing at the very edge of their detection range. "Captain," called the sensor officer, his voice full of excitement. "Multiple contacts dropping out of hyperspace. Reading ... sweet mother of Earth ... Over 500 ships." Tae-jun felt his heart skip. "Confirm that reading." "Confirmed, sir." 512 vessels, all showing human signatures. It's the entire 3rd, 7th, and 12th fleets. Through his enhanced optics, Tae-jun could see the massive human formation materializing from hyperspace. At the center, the enormous bulk of the dreadnought Seoul's Vengeance led the charge, followed by dozens of other capital ships. "Open a secure channel to the flagship," he ordered. "This is Captain O aboard Ghost of Bizon. We have full intelligence on enemy positions and movements." The response came immediately. "Captain O, this is Admiral Min-ho Kong. Transmit all data immediately. We're going in." Back on the Vorthik flagship, alarms suddenly began wailing across the bridge. Admiral Krexith spun toward his sensor station, his compound eyes reflecting the red warning lights. "Report," he clicked angrily. "Massive hyperspace signatures detected at grid 774. Multiple contacts." "Sir, I'm reading over 500 ships." "Impossible. Sensor malfunction. Run diagnostics." "Diagnostics complete, sir." "All systems functioning normally. We are detecting 512 hostile vessels." Krexith's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. "Show me." The main display flickered to life, showing a tactical view of the system. At the edge of sensor range, A wall of contacts stretched across space. The formation was perfect, disciplined, and absolutely massive. "What species has that many ships?" whispered his tactical officer. "None," Krexith replied, but his voice was uncertain. "It must be multiple species working together. Some kind of alliance. Sir, we're receiving a transmission on all frequencies." "Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was calm, measured, and absolutely terrifying in its certainty. "This is Admiral Minho Kong of the Human Defense Fleet. By order of the United Earth Council, you will cease hostilities against our Alvari allies and withdraw immediately. You have 30 minutes to comply. This is your only warning." Silence filled the Vorthic bridge. Every eye stalk turned toward Admiral Krexith, waiting for his response. "Humans?" he clicked slowly. "All of those ships are human?" His intelligence officer checked his data files frantically. "Sir, our intelligence estimates human naval strength at maybe 30 ships total. This is impossible." Clearly our intelligence was wrong, Krexith said grimly. On the planet below, the human embassy erupted in cheers as they received the transmission. Ambassador Jin Wu smiled at the shocked Aldari leaders. "High Counselor, I believe our help has arrived." Veltar stared at the tactical display showing the enormous human fleet. You sent over 500 ships? We asked for medical aid. We sent what was needed. Jin Wu replied calmly. Dr. Hai Jin Choi was monitoring the communications between human ships. They've got 3 full Marine expeditionary forces aboard those transports. That's over 200,000 troops. Commander So-Ra Park shook her head in amazement. Earth didn't just send help. They sent the entire military. High Counselor Veltar's legs gave out, and he sat heavily on one of the bio-grown chairs. We thought humans were a small, young species. A few colonies, maybe a dozen ships. That's what we wanted everyone to think. Jin Wu said quietly. On the Vorthic flagship, Admiral Krexith was facing the hardest decision of his military career. His 400 ships had seemed overwhelming when facing the defenseless Alvari. Against over 500 human vessels, the odds were suddenly very different. Options? He clicked to his staff. We could withdraw, suggested his navigation officer. And look weak before the entire hegemony? Never. We could fight, said his tactical officer, though he didn't sound confident. Krexith looked at the sensor display again. The human formation was advancing steadily toward the inner system, maintaining perfect order. Whatever these humans were, they clearly knew how to coordinate large fleet actions. Sir, called his communications officer, 5 minutes until their deadline expires. Admiral Krexith made his choice. Signal the fleet. All ships prepare for battle. If the humans want to fight, we'll give them one they'll never forget. He had no idea that the humans had been preparing for exactly this kind of fight for over a century. The stage was set for the largest space battle in galactic history. Admiral Minho Kong stood on the bridge of Soul's Vengeance, watching the countdown timer on the main display. 3 minutes until the Vorthic deadline expired. Around him, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, preparing for what was about to become the largest space battle in human history. Admiral, called Lieutenant Commander Eugene Park from the tactical station, the Vorthic fleet is moving into attack formation. They're not backing down. I didn't expect them to, Kong replied calmly. The Vorthic have conquered too many worlds to believe they can lose. Today, they learn different. Captain Yoon Ji Nam, commanding the ship, checked her weapon systems. All forward batteries charged and ready. Point defense systems online. Marine boarding parties standing by. Signal the fleet, Admiral Kong ordered. All ships to battle stations. Execute battle plan tsunami on my mark. Across the massive human formation, Hundreds of ships began moving into their assigned positions. The Third Fleet formed the center, lined their heavy dreadnoughts and battleships, providing the main firepower. The Seventh Fleet split into two wings, preparing to envelope the enemy formation. The 12th Fleet held back as a reserve, ready to exploit any weakness. On the carrier New Bizen, Captain B.O. Young Han received her orders. Launch all fighters, sweep and clear. Show them what human pilots can do. Her flight deck erupted in controlled chaos as 200 fighters launched into space. The sleek human craft moved like silver arrows, their formations tight and precise. Lieutenant Wu Jin Lim, flying his fighter Soul's Pride, felt his heart racing as they approached the enemy fleet. This was his first real battle, but his training had prepared him for this moment. All wings, this is Dragon Leader. Captain Han's voice crackled over the radio. Enemy fighters launching from their carriers. Engage at will. Show them the fury of Earth. The space between the two fleets suddenly filled with thousands of small craft as both sides launched their fighters. But there was an immediate difference. The human pilots flew with a coordination and skill that shocked the Vorthik. The Vorthik fighters were tough and well-armed, but they flew like individuals. The human pilots moved like parts of a single organism, covering each other, working together, turning the battle into a deadly dance. Lieutenant Lim found himself in a furball with 3 Vorthik fighters. Instead of panicking, he followed his training, calling for help while maneuvering to avoid their plasma bolts. Dragon 7, this is Dragon 3. I've got your back, came the calm voice of Lieutenant So Young Park. The 2 human fighters worked together, one drawing fire while the other attacked from an unexpected angle. Within minutes, all 3 enemy fighters were destroyed. Nice work, 7, Park said over the radio. That's how we do teamwork. Back on the flagship, Admiral Kang watched the fighter battle with satisfaction. Human losses were minimal, while Vorthik fighters fell by the dozens. Admiral, called Eugene Park, enemy capital ships are moving to engage. They're trying to break through our center line. Let them come. Signal all ships, fire when ready. The first exchange of capital ship fire lit up space like a miniature star. Massive energy beams and missile salvos crossed the void between the fleets. The Vorthik ships were tough, their hulls thick and armored. But human weapons had been designed with one principle in mind: overwhelming firepower. The human dreadnought. Inchin's Fury opened fire with all forward batteries. The concentrated energy beams punched through the shields of a Vorthik battleship like it was made of paper. The enemy ship broke apart in a brilliant explosion. Direct hit on enemy battleship. Devour, reported the tactical officer. Target destroyed. Across the battle line, similar scenes played out. Human ships fired with precision and devastating effect. The Vorthik return fire was heavy but poorly coordinated. Their weapons were powerful but crude, designed for bombarding planets rather than fighting disciplined fleet actions. Admiral Krexith watched in growing horror as his fleet began to take massive casualties. His ships were being picked apart by an enemy that fought like they had been preparing for this exact battle for decades. How are they so coordinated? He clicked angrily to his tactical officer. Unknown, sir. Their targeting is perfect. There. Formations never break. It's like they're controlled by a single mind. What the Vorthik didn't understand was that humans had learned warfare through centuries of bitter experience. They had fought each other for thousands of years before reaching the stars, perfecting the art of organized violence. When they turned that experience toward space combat, the results were devastating. Major Ji-Hoon Roo led his Special Forces team aboard the assault transport Thunder of Inchin. Their mission was to capture key enemy ships intact, gathering intelligence about Vorthik military capabilities. Target is the command cruiser Warrior's Blade, he told his team over the comm. Their shields are down and engines damaged. We go. In fast and hard. Sergeant Donghyun Kim checked his plasma rifle one last time. How many Vorthik aboard? Approximately 300. But remember, we want prisoners, not corpses. Intelligence needs someone to interrogate. The assault transport. Attached to the Vorthik ship like a parasite. Cutting charges blew a hole in the enemy hull, and the human Marines poured through. The Vorthik crew fought hard, but they were not prepared for human close combat tactics. The Marines moved through the ship's corridors like a tide, using stun, weapons and non-lethal gas to subdue the crew. Bridge secured, reported Sergeant Kim. We've got their captain and senior officers alive. Excellent. Secure all computer cores and navigation data. Command wants to know where their other fleets are located. Similar boarding actions were taking place across the battlefield. Human Marines were capturing damaged Vorthik ships, gathering intelligence that would prevent future attacks. Back on Seoul's vengeance, Admiral Kong watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. The battle had been raging for 4 hours, and the outcome was no longer in doubt. Casualty report, he ordered. Vorthik fleet is down to 130 ships, Yu Jin Park reported. We estimate 300 enemy vessels destroyed or captured. Our losses, 2 frigates damaged, no ships destroyed, total casualties under 50. Admiral Kang nodded. The human fleet had swept through the Vorthik formation like a tsunami, destroying everything in its path while taking almost no losses in return. On the Vorthik flagship, Admiral Krexith faced the collapse of his entire invasion force. His 400 ships had been reduced to scattered survivors trying to escape. Signal all remaining ships, he clicked in defeat. General retreat. Emergency jump to hyperspace. Sir, many ships have damaged jump drives. They can't escape. Krexith. Mandibles clicked in despair. In 6 hours, the mighty Vorthik hegemony fleet had been utterly destroyed by an enemy they had thought was weak. Admiral, Kong opened communications to the surviving Vorthik ships. This is Admiral Kong to all Vorthik vessels. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting, and you will be destroyed. One by one, the remaining enemy ships powered down their weapons and surrendered. On the planet below, the Aldari watched in amazement as their human allies achieved total victory. High Counselor Valtar stared at the tactical display in shock. They didn't lose a single ship, he whispered to Ambassador Jin Woo Lee. Human naval doctrine emphasizes overwhelming force, Jin Woo replied calmly. We don't fight fair fights. We fight to win, quickly and decisively. Dr. Hai Jin Choi was monitoring communications from the human ships. They're sending medical teams to help Vorthik survivors. Even after that battle, they're still trying to save lives. Commander Sora Park shook her head in amazement. The entire Vorthik invasion force, gone in one day. Captain Daeho Kim looked out at the crystal cities of the Aldari, now safe from harm. I don't think anyone in the galaxy realized just how powerful humanity had become. Admiral Kong's voice came over the communication system, addressing both his fleet and the planet. Below, this is Admiral Kong to all forces. The Vorthik threat has been eliminated. The Aldari Federation is under the protection of the United Earth Defense Fleet. Any species that threatens our allies will face the full might of human military power. The message was broadcast on all frequencies, reaching every corner of the galaxy. Humanity had revealed its true strength, and the galaxy would never be the same. 3 days after the battle, the Aldari homeworld was still trying to process what had happened. The crystal cities hummed with activity as construction crews worked to repair the minor damage from the brief Vorthik bombardment. But the real Change was in the sky above. Hundreds of human warships now patrolled the system in perfect formation. High Counselor Veltar walked through the human embassy with Ambassador Jinwoo Lee, his golden feathers still dulled with shock. They passed windows showing the massive human dreadnought Soul's Vengeance in orbit, its hull stretching for kilometers. "We asked for a medical ship," Veltar said quietly, his voice like wind through crystal chimes. "Perhaps some advisors. Instead, you brought 500 warships and 200,000 soldiers." Jinwoo paused by one of the bio-grown windows, watching Aldari children playing in the gardens below. Human Marines in power armor stood guard nearby, their weapons ready, but their postures relaxed. "High Counselor, in human culture, there's an old saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. We've learned that the best way to protect our friends is to make sure no one would ever think of attacking them." Dr. Hai-Jin Choi joined them, carrying a data pad filled with preliminary reports. The captured Vorthic intelligence is incredible. They had detailed files on dozens of species, including invasion plans for 3 more systems. 3 more? Veltar's amber eyes widened. The Kepler system was just the beginning, Jinwoo confirmed. If we hadn't stopped them here, the Vorthic would have controlled this entire sector within a year. On the bridge of Soul's Vengeance, Admiral Minho Kong reviewed the strategic situation with his senior staff. The victory had been complete, but it had also revealed how much the galaxy had underestimated human military power. "Intelligence reports are coming in from across known space," reported Director Hyeon Woo ECO via holographic transmission from Earth. 12 species have requested formal alliance treaties in the past 2 days. The Centauri Republic wants to renegotiate their trade agreements. Even the Andromedans are sending diplomatic inquiries. "What about other threats?" asked General Yeon-Soo Young, who had just arrived on the flagship. "The Zephyrian Collective has recalled all their border raids. The Void Hunters have gone completely silent. The Nexus Empire sent a formal note saying they have no hostile intentions toward human space." Admiral Kang smiled grimly. "Amazing how polite everyone becomes when they realize we have more ships than they thought." Captain Yoon-ji Nam looked up from her tactical display. "Admiral, we've identified the location of 3 more Vorthic fleets from the captured data. Each one has about 200 ships. Recommendations? We could send the 7th Fleet to deal with the closest one. Make sure they understand the hegemony's expansion days are over. Do it, but give them a chance to surrender first. We're not conquerors, we're peacekeepers." Down on the planet, Captain Dae-ho Kim was meeting with Aldari military officials. Or what passed for military among the peaceful bird people? War singer Kasara looked overwhelmed as she reviewed human military doctrine. "Your Marines train for 16 different types of combat," she said, reading from a data tablet. "Orbital assault, urban warfare, boarding actions, planetary siege, jungle fighting, ... How do you remember it all?" "Practice," replied Colonel Sunni Beek, the senior Marine commander on the planet. "Human history is full of wars. We learned to fight in every environment because we had to." "But you're so peaceful now," Kasara said, confused. "Your diplomats are kind. Your scientists share knowledge freely. How can the same species be both warriors and healers?" Captain Kim considered the question carefully. "We learned that the best way to keep peace is to be ready for war. We fight so others don't have to." In the biolaboratories of New Haven, Aldari and human scientists worked side by side, sharing knowledge that would benefit both species. The Aldari healing techniques could revolutionize human medicine, while human engineering could help the Aldari build better defenses. Lieutenant Woo Jin Lim, the young fighter pilot, found himself assigned to help train Aldari pilots. The bird people were natural flyers, but they had no experience with military tactics. "The key is teamwork," he explained to a group of young Elderly. Never fly alone. Always have someone watching your back. Work together, and you can defeat enemies much stronger than you. Like you did to the Vorthik? Asked one of the students, her feathers bright with curiosity. Exactly. The Vorthik had bigger ships and more guns. But they fought as individuals. We fought as a team. News of the battle spread across the galaxy through quantum communication networks and trade routes. On a dozen worlds, species that had dismissed humanity as newcomers suddenly realized they had made a serious mistake. The Regelian Council called an emergency session to discuss the human question. The Tau Ceti Federation began upgrading their defenses, worried about human expansion. The Vega Alliance sent diplomatic envoys to negotiate peaceful relations. On Earth, President Su Jin Quan addressed the United Nations and broadcast the speech across human space. Her words were also transmitted to every known alien government. Fellow humans and friends among the stars, she began. Recent events have shown that our galaxy can be a dangerous place. Peaceful species like our Aldari allies face threats from those who would conquer and enslave. The camera showed her standing before a display of the Kepler 442 system, where human ships now maintained permanent patrol. Humanity has always believed in protecting those who cannot protect themselves. We extend our hand in friendship to all species who seek peace and cooperation. But let it be known, we will not tolerate aggression against our allies. She paused, her expression serious. Some may say we overreacted to the Vorthik threat. They may say that 500 ships were too many to send to protect one small system. To them, I say this. When our friends call for help, we respond with everything we have. That is what friendship means to humanity. The speech was heard across the galaxy, translated into hundreds of languages, and transmitted to thousands of worlds. Back on Kepler 442b, Ambassador Jinwoo Lee received a priority message from Earth. He read it twice before calling Captain Kim to his office. New orders? Kim asked. New reality, Jinwoo replied. Earth is establishing a permanent naval base here. The Aldari have agreed to host the Fifth Fleet, our newest formation. They're also requesting human advisors to help them set up a proper defense force. The Aldari are going to have their own military? A small one, mostly for system defense and peacekeeping. We'll train them, but they'll remain true to their peaceful nature. Dr. Hai Jin Choi knocked on the door and entered. Ambassador, I just received wonderful news. The Aldari High Council has agreed to a full scientific partnership. We'll be sharing biotechnology research that could benefit billions of people. Jinwoo smiled. It seems our friends have learned that sometimes the best way to preserve peace is to be prepared for war. 6 months later, Admiral Dae-ho Kim, promoted after his exemplary service during the crisis, stood on the observation deck of Starbase Haven, the massive human facility now orbiting Kepler 442b. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see human and Aldari children playing together in the station's biogardens. The Aldari had kept their promise to share their healing technology. Human hospitals across the galaxy now used Aldari bioregeneration techniques. Diseases that had killed for centuries were now easily cured. In return, the Aldari lived under the protection of the most powerful military force in known space. 3 more species had requested similar arrangements, offering their unique technologies in exchange for human protection. Admiral, called Commander Eugene Park, now his aide-de-camp, we just received word from the 7th Fleet. The remaining Vorthik forces have surrendered. Their empire is requesting peace negotiations. Terms? Complete withdrawal from all conquered systems, reparations to their victims, and a formal agreement never to engage in aggressive expansion again. Kim nodded. The galaxy is learning. peace. True strength actually works. He looked out at the crystal cities of the Owlery homeworld, now protected by the most advanced defense network in the galaxy. Human patrol ships moved silently through the system, their presence a guarantee that this world would never again face the threat of conquest. The Owlery had asked for aid and received something far greater. They had gained the friendship and protection of humanity. In doing so, they had helped reveal to the galaxy that humans were not a minor species to be ignored, but a force that would reshape the balance of power among the stars. The age of human dominance in space had begun, built not on conquest, but on the simple principle that friends should protect each other, no matter the cost. And across the galaxy, species both friendly and hostile had learned a valuable lesson. When humans promised to help, they didn't send just enough aid to make a difference. They sent everything.